BBC thriller The Guest has been one of those shows that keeps viewers glued to the screen from the very first episode. Now that all the episodes are streaming on BBC iPlayer, fans have been left buzzing with questions about that intense finale. The story follows Rhea, played by Gabrielle Creevy, a young woman just trying to make ends meet, who takes a cleaning job with the mysterious and powerful businesswoman Fran, played by Eve Miles. What starts out as a simple employee dynamic quickly turns into something much darker. By the end of the series, Rhea learns the truth about Fran's husband Simon, and the secret operation running behind closed doors. At first, it looks like Rhea has stumbled into an opportunity to make money and perhaps even build a new life. But the deeper she gets involved with Fran, the more she realizes that there's something dangerous bubbling underneath the surface. The shocking event at the end of episode 1 ties their fates together, and from that point, Fran's real motives remain blurred until everything comes crashing down in the finale. But what exactly did Rhea find out about Fran's world? Why was Rhea pulled into this scheme? And how did their story end? Let's break it down in detail. Rhea's discovery was both eye-opening and disturbing. She realized that she wasn't just a random cleaner who happened to land a lucky position in Fran's house. Instead, she was part of a carefully designed system that Fran had been running for years. Fran had a method of targeting young women like Rhea, women who needed money, stability, or a chance to climb up in life. At first, Fran would hire them as cleaners. Slowly, she would promote them to assistants and pull them deeper into her world. Rhea wasn't the first. Fran had done this before, and one key player in recruiting these women was Mike. He had been the one to bring Rhea in, and he had done the same with Rhea's predecessor, Anna. But when Mike spiraled out of control while on drugs and went off script, it cost him his life. His death wasn't some big, mysterious murder. It was simply the result of being unreliable in a world where reliability was everything. That was Rhea's first glimpse into how dangerous this operation really was. But the bigger truth came when Rhea uncovered Fran's actual business. It was far from ordinary. Fran and her team were laundering drug money through an elaborate system. Her husband Simon was the one importing prescription drugs. Fran would handle the sorting, and Richard was responsible for selling them to eager customers. According to Fran, the buyers weren't hardened criminals. They were ordinary people, bored housewives, and middle-class office workers living for the weekend. Once the drugs were sold, the money had to be cleaned. That's where Fran's assistants came in. Women like Rhea were sent abroad, often to Dubai, carrying large amounts of cash. Once there, the money would be turned into cryptocurrency, making it almost untraceable. Every assistant only stayed in the role for a short time, just long enough to make some money before moving on. Fran told herself that this was her way of helping women climb out of their struggles, giving them a shot at a better life. But the truth was, she was also using them to shield herself and keep her empire running. Things became even darker when Rhea learned what happened to Anna, the assistant before her. Fran claimed Anna had been stealing money, and because of that betrayal, Anna was killed. While the details weren't fully laid out, it was implied that Simon or Richard had taken care of her, showing just how ruthless this setup was. The finale of The Guest pushed everything to the edge. Rhea woke up believing she had murdered Fran's husband, Simon. The evidence seemed to point in that direction. The murder weapon was in her hand, and she had no memory of what had happened. But in reality, Fran herself had killed Simon. This was one of the biggest twists of the series. Fran's relationship with Simon was toxic and abusive. He controlled her, threatened her, and was physically violent. Fran had even arranged her life so that she had her own private room with a lock, just to escape his outbursts. On the night Simon died, his violence reached a point where Fran finally snapped. In self-defense, she struck him and killed him. Instead of admitting what happened, Fran drugged Rhea and placed the murder weapon in her hand, framing her for the crime. Rhea went on the run, desperate to prove her innocence. During her escape, she pieced together the truth about Fran and Simon. Just as she was closing in on exposing the entire operation, Richard intercepted her. He knew that if Rhea spoke out, the empire they had built would collapse. He took her to a secure location where Fran and Rhea finally confronted each other. In this emotional showdown, Fran dropped her mask. She admitted she saw herself in Rhea, which was why she had chosen her in the first place. Fran wasn't just building a criminal empire. She was also creating a twisted mentorship system. She wanted to lift young women up, but in the process, she dragged them into crime. Rhea, overwhelmed by everything, broke down, and Fran revealed her complex feelings toward her. Things reached a breaking point when Richard decided to silence Rhea permanently. He attempted to poison her, but in a surprising turn, Fran saved Rhea's life. She struck Richard over the head with a bowl, knocking him out, and then freed Rhea, urging her to escape. Despite everything Fran had done, in that moment, she chose to protect Rhea instead of destroying her. The aftermath played out 2 weeks later. A radio report confirmed that Fran was now on the run. The drug operation had been exposed, and Fran was implicated in Simon's murder. Richard wasn't so lucky. He had been captured and was expected to spend the rest of his life in prison. Rhea, on the other hand, was completely cleared of all charges. She was finally free. With her name cleared, Rhea started thinking about her future. Her friend Lee had managed to land a job, and Rhea was planning to go backpacking, finally getting the chance to live life on her own terms. But just when it looked like things were settling down, Rhea received one last surprise. She found a cryptocurrency drive in Richard's lock, filled with the proceeds of Fran's operation. Remembering Fran's advice to take what you can, Rhea plugged in the device and watched the numbers climb into the hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions. For the first time, Rhea saw a new future laid out in front of her. She smiled, realizing that despite everything she had endured, she had come out stronger, wealthier, and free. The ending of The Guest is both dark and empowering. It shows the complexity of Fran as a character, a woman who was both victim and manipulator, abuser and savior. For Rhea, it was a transformation from being a pawn in someone else's game to finally taking control of her own destiny. The final shot of her smiling at the fortune on the cryptocurrency drive perfectly captures her shift from vulnerability to empowerment. It also leaves fans with plenty of questions. Did Fran survive on the run? Will Rhea ever cross paths with her again? Was Rhea right to take the money, or will it come back to haunt her? The BBC thriller ends with just enough closure while leaving the door open for imagination, making it one of the most gripping finales in recent memory.